Hello, I'm going to take you through the TQA External Assessment Guide, the one that you've got in front of you, and it looks like this. I'll go to the front page there. I'm just going to go through and explain important parts of this document, but firstly I'm going to talk to you about the pink slip that you got in front of you. It's called the Notice of Environment. You need to keep it in a safe place. It's essentially your ticket to the exam. On there you'll see the subject exam times, but also it'll show whether you are doing a folio. So if you're doing one or more folio subjects, you'll obviously have less exam times, and that's all on that pink form for you. Now, any alterations should be made in pencil if it's incorrect, and you should get it back to me as soon as possible. I will note that in an emergency one of these can be reprinted, but it is a measure of inconvenience and perhaps stress and anxiety that you want to avoid, so please keep your pink slip in a safe place. Let's have a look at the guide itself. First, what you'll see is the assessment only examinations, and in our school it only relates to Chinese specialist. On that same page you'll see all examinations. Let's have a look at those. There they are there. That relates to drama, theatre performance, dance, all the languages, music, art production and so on, as you can see. And they will be arranged at those dates, as you can see there. And your teacher will be on top of that and would have informed you of that already. Now on page 3 you'll see the written timetable, and that will apply to the large majority of you. And here's the 2014. Obviously you have to look at the 2015 one. It was obviously very different. And on page 4 is all the information I've been telling you about the notice environment. That's your pink slip. Okay, just in summary, it's your ticket to exam. You must have it when you go in there. That shouldn't have any personal information on it, and in a emergency I can reprint them for you, but please make sure that you keep it with you at all times. Okay, what are you allowed to take in the exam and what not? This is all contained on page 5. Let's have a look at page 5. Here it is. There's a whole range of things there, and I'm going to refer to them as I go along. So you talk about drink bottles and calculators. Drink bottles, essentially they should be clear and a pop top. We don't want a screw top to avoid the spillage. Use of calculators, there's a whole list there. Your teacher should already have told you what calculator you're allowed to take and what not. Dictionary applies all subjects except the exception of English. And reading time is also on page 5. Now that's really important that you use that time constructively. Now essentially you've got 3 hours 15 minutes in your exam. You should use that time productively. So any notes or any writing that you want to make in the first 15 minutes, you should go ahead and do that to use your time the best way possible. Let's go to the next section. What about if you miss part or all of an exam? Now that's on page 6. Let's have a look at that. Page 6. It's fairly extensive. I'm not going to go through it in detail, but in summary, anything must involve a medical certificate. So, and it must happen on that day. So if you're sick, you must go to the doctor, get the certificate, which they then send through to TQA themselves. It'll tell you how long it's for and so forth, but it must be done on the very day that you are sick. Okay, I've shown you page 7, and there's some provisions that relate to where if you're late to an exam. That's on page 11. Here it is here. In summary, if you're late up to an hour, they'll essentially let you in. But there's other provisions if you're later than an hour and you have to sign a statutory declaration form. Okay, what happens before the exam? You should get there 15 minutes early. For special consideration people, you've got to add on another 30 minutes for that, because you get, in a lot of cases, you get extra 30 minutes, so 15 minutes on top of that is 45. Most exams will be in F9 and F10, unless for the bigger exams they are scheduled in the hall, but you will be told about that on the day that it happens. And special consideration people, they will do their exams in F7 and F8. During the exam, you must have your TQA number. Reading time I've talked to you about, and there's a whole range of things relating to conduct of exams which I'll talk to you about now. Just before I do, the grammar rule is that you should not leave until the end of the exam. That's a grammar rule because we want to ensure every opportunity to do your best on the exam. Let's have a look at the conduct, which is on page 9 and 10. It's called the external assessment rule. A lot of the things are straightforward, but I should point some of the ones out to you. So in order to be a candidate, you've got to have your notice of environment. I've talked about that. You must obey any instructions given by the supervisors in there. They take attendance. You're not allowed to leave the examination room. In our school, you're not allowed to leave until the end. You can't take any electronic devices and that sort of stuff in there. You must leave them with the supervisors at the start, and anything else that you've got with you shall also be not confiscated but taken from you. You can get it back at the end. Again, it talks about water, and there's these other common sense provisions. I'm not going to go through them, but they're fairly straightforward. Your attendance, the supervisor will take the attendance, obviously. There's that thing I talked to you about, the 1 hour rule and so forth, and so on. I'm not going to go through it now. If you want to talk about results, this is all on page 13. It's all fairly straightforward. You will receive by post. If you want it 1 day earlier, you've got to apply for it to get it via email. That's 1 day earlier. That happens in 2014, happened before the 15th of December. And if you have a query about your results, if you're not happy, or there's something that you think is not quite right, there's a process that you have to go through. You have to apply and so on and so forth to have that process occur. You may have some queries about the ATAR score, because that's what you're trying to end up with to gain your entrance into university. I would hope that you would know the requirements by now, but here is a quick rehash, revision of what they are. And lastly, a summary of dates that will affect you in this exam period. You've already got your pink slips, the written exams, the close application for email of results. The results will come out, and then the applications if you want to inspect your examination scripts if there's a discrepancy, if there's something that you think is not quite right. You can see with the process there, it's not until March, April where the inspection of the scripts actually occur, and your teacher will go through it with you to see where there's a case to answer for. Hopefully that's been useful to you. If any questions, please obviously come and see me, but it should be all fairly self-explanatory, and I hope I've been clear and precise. Thanks for listening.